record it. I've been asked to make this available for other people who can't join in at the moment. So I'll do that. So my name is Ben Morrison. I'm a fundraising consultant, work across the sector, and I was on LinkedIn the other day, and there was somebody talking about a special events forum, a virtual conversation to talk about charities and what to do now that this virus has stopped face-to-face events. And I thought that'd be great, and I'll join in on that. And I was due to join in, and then a few other people said, "Oh, can I join in? Can I join in?" And I contacted the person who was organising the call, and she said, "Well, actually, it's sort of full already." So I thought, well, okay, as lots of people were interested, let's do another one. So this is it. We've got about 20 people, I think, or so joined in. So thank you very much. 15 people. That's not a bad start. So thank you for everybody for joining in. So what would be great is if we can take it in turns to a couple of minutes or a minute and a half or 30 seconds. If you'd like to explain what your situation now is, what you were planning to do. So first of all, you could explain who you are and what your area of fundraising that you work in is, what the charity is. Don't go into lots of details because we're all fundraisers, and we just want to know the stuff that can help each other. However, I'm sure never know, people can link up after this, and just share how events that you were working on probably for many months have been postponed or cancelled, and how you are moving forward with these if you are. It's a very worrying time for all, for us as individual people, us for family members, if we've got young families, or we've got elderly parents, or just our own self or partners or spouses. It's a pretty horrible time. However, what's been great is if this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be speaking to you. So there is some light there. I'll just mention a couple of things first to kick off. I was chatting to somebody last night who is part of a virtual fundraising community, and to me that his advice was that he follows these two guys in America who are early YouTube adopters, and they've got a online forum which is they're called the Vlog Brothers, and some you may have heard of them, and they were early YouTube adopters and create content, and through that content that they put out, people comment, and then there has been a community created of people who comment on each other's on these guys' videos, and over the years have built up, and then the guys decided to go and start doing some charity stuff. So they took their community with them, and their community now gets involved in doing fundraising, and they have telethons and 24-hour appeals and match funding, etc. And his point to me that he wanted to share with the group is that if you do something virtual, his view was keep it small to the people that you were going to invite anyway. So if it was a dinner for 100 people, keep it to the dinner. Don't sort of invite the whole of your donor base. If it is that you're trying to put out content, make it as authentic as possible. And his advice was just to test things. So that was his advice. The other advice I've got to share is that we all have causes, we all work for causes that help people or situations, or looking for cures, or help animals, or we work in this country or we work abroad, and everyone will be touched by this virus, but not everybody wants to give to your cause if it's not connected to the virus, which was quite an interesting thought. And that if you are going out with some sort of emergency appeal and you can't really connect it, to not obviously use the virus as a way of fundraising, which can be quite hard when we all probably are responsible for raising money for charities. So there's just two things to share. I'd love to hear about your virtual events that you have pivoted, what you've done, and if that's okay, I'm just going to pick people randomly. I'm going to pick. I'll pick Reese first, if that's okay, because I think you're the only other boy that I can see, and then we'll hand over to the ladies and hear what they say. So after Reese, I'll just pick someone else, or somebody just wave and just continue. So Reese, if you want to do a couple of minutes, that would be great. Over to you.
Hi everyone, I work for a charity called Backup. We're a spinal cord injury charity. We support people after they've been affected by spinal cord injuries. So our events, along with sort of the ones that I imagine a lot of people have had, the challenge events like the London Marathon, the landmarks, stuff like that, they've all been pushed back, and we're still unsure about landmarks as well. That even though they've released a virtual event, we also had a gala dinner, and we had another big charity event, challenge event, sorry, that was postponed, and they've been put back till September, October time, although we're still unsure whether they're gonna be able to do anything at that point as well. So what we've done in response, I think our charity as a whole has done an emergency appeal. We're a small to mid-sized charity, so we're about 1.7 million, I think. So and we've just brought in, I think we've just reached the 10,000 mark on the emergency appeal, and we've got a virtual challenge that we're launching today, which is fairly bespoke. I want a little child in someone, which is fairly bespoke to our charity, in the sense that it is a challenge where you run, wheel, walk or cycle a distance which covers all the spinal units around the UK, and so it's a distance which covers about 1,800 kilometres, and we're challenging the whole of our community to try and do as many circuits around that 1,800 kilometres as possible, rather than just doing one, because we worked out quite quickly that one wouldn't necessarily, we could probably do that quite quickly as a whole community. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment, and so we're launching that today, and we're running that for about a month and a half. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you for that, Reese. And can I just ask, before we move on, do you have all the technology available in house, or have you had to go out and find suppliers, and if so, which suppliers have been helpful in this?
So we all work from laptops anyway in our office, and so it was quite easy for us to go remote, and everyone sort of went, and just sort of, we already have a few remote workers in our office anyway. Further things to make it a bit easier, like monitors and keyboards and mouses, and even like headphones and microphones, which could be quite beneficial. They're getting processed at the moment, and there's a bit of a contingent going that way from our charity. There's a bit of a sway. In terms of like the technology for the event, I think we kind of set it up as a normal sort of fundraiser, and we don't necessarily have the calling system in place at the moment. We're doing it through Microsoft Teams, so we're just calling people from our own personal mobiles, but we don't have any other sort of specialist technology at our fingertips that we're using. But we're enabling more things, so we haven't really used Strava that much, but I think there's already been a massive influx of people that are using Strava since since people have been isolated. So I think we're just trying to use a few more things that are already available. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you for sharing. Who's next? Somebody just dive in and go for it. Who's going to go? Anybody? Go for it, Rosie. Go for it, Rosie.
Hi guys. So I work for a small local homeless charity in Taunton in Somerset. We're called ARC. I'm all fundraising, so I do everything, as I'm sure many people do. But one thing that I do is events. So we only hold one sort of internal event per year, which is a big sleep out. And that's coming up in June. So we made the decision at the start of this week that we can't do that. Generally, we have about 100 people. We're in close proximity to each other. We sleep next to each other. You know, we're outside. It's not really the cleanest conditions. So yeah, so we decided not to go ahead with that. But we already have some people committed to that, and it's an annual event. It brings the community together quite a lot. It raises a lot of money for us as a small local charity. So we want to try and go ahead with it, but virtually, basically. So I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like yet, which hence why I'm here. Hoping maybe to pick up on some ideas of how that might work, how you guys are running your events virtually, what sort of technologies and things could be used. So yeah, I'm a bit in the dark at the moment, so hopefully might not be in the dark so much by the end of this.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Well, let's see if we can help you. Please, somebody else, just raise your hand and go for it. Charlene.
So I work for a charity called UJIA, which is United Jewish Israel Appeal. We're quite a big charity. And my role is I look after Manchester and Glasgow on the fundraising and events side. So we, we've cancelled, obviously we cancelled all the events, and we are doing an online event for it's Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is Israel's Independence Day. And we are trying to get a speaker from Israel, possibly somebody within the health sector. We felt we have to keep it coronavirus related, because that's basically, although people want to maybe not hear about it, it's pretty much what everyone only really wants to hear about at the moment. And we are going to try and do an appeal on that basis. I mean, it's interesting what you said, Ben, about keeping it to the people that you were going to invite, because I think the plan that UJ had was to make it much bigger. So it's interesting what you said about you should maybe home it in a bit. So I will feed that back to them. I mean, we had an event with Rachel Riley, a ladies' lunch. I'm not sure. I think we're just going to postpone everything. At the moment, it doesn't look like we're going to do any more online events. I mean, we also have a massive donor database, which we at the beginning did a little bit of cash collection. You know, we had a lot of donors that pledged. We have an annual dinner every year, and there was a lot of the cash that's not been collected yet. So we, at the beginning, we called our donors and we kindly asked them if they could redeem their pledge, which a lot did, and obviously some people didn't. We are now calling people as a stewardship only, especially people over 70 within Glasgow and Manchester, just to check in with them, see that they're okay, and hopefully keep the relationship building for post-corona. But events we are, as I said, there's only just got the one main one for now, and everything else we're just being quite hopeful that by September we'll be able to have our dinner again, but we don't know. But we've been advised that stewardship is one of the things that as fundraisers we can do right now is just check in with them and keep the relationship going through this. It will make it easier through the other side.
Thank you. I think there's some really good points there, actually, particularly about the stewardship. I don't know about you, and maybe this is a little cynical, but I've received hundreds of emails from companies that I didn't even realize I was subscribed to, you know, shopping and service companies who are sort of, you know, we're here, you know, a word from the CEO that you've never heard from. And, you know, yes, it's nice to be kept in touch by, you know, my energy provider, but and all these sort of companies offering me 10% off for when things do come back on. Okay, who's next? Somebody wave and go for it. Emma, go for it. Emma, and then we'll go.
Hi everyone. So I work with Reese at Backup, the spinal injuries charity. So I won't kind of repeat anything he's said. But I lead more on the major events side, so I thought it'd be good if I just speak a little bit about that. So Reese mentioned that our main dinner, which is the city dinner, would have taken place at the end of April. So at the moment we've penciled in a date in October, but I'd be really interested to kind of hear from other people on what your thoughts are around putting in a date later in the year, because we took this decision a couple of weeks ago, but with the more recent developments, I'm getting kind of increasingly concerned that that might not be able to go ahead either if the distancing measures are kind of on and off for the next year or so. So it'd be really good to get other people's thoughts on that. We were very lucky to get our other major event in just before the outbreak kind of hit the UK. So that was really good. But yeah, just in general, the committees and the kind of table hosts that I've spoken to have been so supportive of us moving the date and really understanding. So we're feeling quite hopeful that if the event can take place in October, it won't be hit as an event. It will be more just all the events will take place in a short time, which obviously puts pressures on. We have quite a small team. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the major event side. At the moment, another thing with the challenge side is we've got like a big event in July, which we run ourselves. So we're just looking now whether to postpone that. So again, if people can kind of advise what they're doing in terms of timings, that would be really helpful for us.
Great, thank you very much. We'll come to about events, moving events later on. Alicia, I've got it right, Alicia.
Hi, yeah, so my name's Alicia. I am based up in Newcastle, and I work for a charity called the Children's Heart Unit Fund, CHUF, and we're really quite a small team. There's 5 of us, and a couple of whom are part-time. Our kind of major event that we had sort of upcoming is something called the Toddle, which is something that allows our beneficiary families to come along to, you know, the children that have had their heart surgery or, you know, are on the mend or are, you know, able to get out of hospital, come along. It's a big family fun day at the end. It was supposed to be the beginning of June. It would normally be the end of June, but this year, where we hold it, our sponsor has the golfing masters or something going on. So it was already brought earlier. We've pushed it towards September because we were hoping that come the end part of the year would probably be sort of safer, because we obviously the London Marathon's been pushed to October. Great North Run looks like it's still going to go for September. Obviously everyone's just keeping a weather eye to what's going on, but we're already thinking about whether or not that's going to be late enough, because obviously with it, a lot of the beneficiary families and a lot of our supporters having small children with underlying health conditions, if the weather's not great towards the tail end of the year, even if it could run, it might not still be as successful as it ordinarily would. But because it is such a large sort of fundraiser for us, we'd expect to see 37,000, 40,000 coming in. We're looking at alternative ways. If we have to push it completely, can we still ask people for, you know, to sort of make up the sponsorship in some other way? So we're actually looking at creating kind of a virtual fundraising pack of things that people do, whether that's, you know, kind of filming their kids toddling around the garden, you know, 100 times or whatnot, and whether we could still perhaps send out a medal if they meet a kind of a minimum sponsorship. We never actually ask for a specific minimum sponsorship, although this year we've been working on a pack to just kind of say, actually, this much money allows us to pay for this and this much money allows us to pay for that, to kind of encourage people to kind of work on the sponsorship more, as opposed to just coming along as a family fun day, which people can. So it's difficult because we can't do anything about the fun fair side of things. We can't give people that if the event doesn't go ahead in September. We would have to push to next year, and it would just be at its normal time next year, presumably. But we are just now, because we don't do really anything in terms of virtual fundraising. I mean, we have online Facebook fundraisers and things, and people kind of raise quite a lot of money through Just Giving and things like that. But we're looking at the different kind of virtual events that we can offer, not just to the participants of the TODL, but also, I probably should have said at the beginning that my role is corporate and events. I'm the corporate events fundraising manager. And so the other major thing that happens throughout the year ordinarily, although it's not a singular event, is something called the Chuff Champions Challenge, in which we get lots of corporates, lots of local businesses involved, and they have a goal of 5,000, which inevitably they smash. And we would expect to see sort of 70 coming in from that. And of course now, the events that those businesses had organised can't go ahead. But we're trying to come up with a fundraising pack so that rather than cancelling completely, they can either think about postponing, or is there other ways that they can get staff involved, whether it's kind of a virtual cycle or, you know, something like that. So I really was quite interested to hear what exactly it is that other people are doing, and are they using companies like the virtual experience, I've forgotten the name of it now, virtual challenge company, and you know, has anyone used any of these sort of companies to kind of get people to sign up for those, as opposed to, you know, the kind of events that they would do outside.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. We'll just whiz through everybody else, and then perhaps we can people can help share what they have to help. Sophie Bruce, if that's okay, I'll unmute you. You're in the top corner of my. There we go. Oh no, you're muted. There you go.
Thanks. So I'm Sophie, and I work for Emmaus UK, which is a homelessness charity. We don't actually really run any of our own events like dinners or anything like that. We mainly just buy places in third-party events, so London Marathon, Royal Parks and Ride London. But obviously they're all being postponed and cancelled. So we were wanting to do a virtual event, which we did do last year. So it's more just growing on what we did last year. So I was just thinking of ways to make this better, so whether to use companies like Give Penny or Everyday Hero and things like that. So I just wanted to hear people's advice really on what different companies you're using and how you're doing it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Nicole, have you had lots of events moved?
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi. I'm muted. Hi there. So I'm Nicole. I run a business called Getting This Done, which is an event management specialist. So like all of you who are working at your own charities, my business partner and I go around different charities and run their events. So we are currently not having any events. We had one that was scheduled for March, which obviously has been postponed. That was a gala dinner for about 300 people. It was for an Israeli-based charity. So unfortunately, we had a lot of people coming from Israel, speakers who we've had to, obviously, are in quarantine now and can't come over. We've got a conference for 5,000 people for Yom HaShoah in April, which following this meeting, if we've finished on time, I'm going into a meeting about that. And how we're going to do something special for the day itself rather than have this big conference. We have an event that's been postponed now in June that was due to take place at not Buckingham Palace, at Kensington Palace. So again, we're in talks with them as to how we can go ahead later in the year or next year now. And my main concern is that one of our clients, we have an annual dinner in November. And this is the situation where I'm a bit stuck about is, do we go ahead? Do we continue planning? Don't we? It's a real, every hour is changing at the moment. We're talking about whether if it goes ahead, that's great. People may want to celebrate and leave the house by that time. If not, people may be reserved and not want to go out. So it's it's a real chicken and egg situation. And we're talking with the caterer. The caterer has been fantastic. I'm having conversation today with the venue because now we've obviously put some deposits in. We're eating into our cancellation fees, and we just don't know how they're going to react to all this. Obviously, they're in the same situation. Are they going to be kind? Are they going to waiver the fees? We just don't know. But in the meantime, the client wants us to be more savvy now, think of other situations. If we don't go ahead with the dinner, like some of you have already pointed out, keeping the relationships going with the stewardships, and that we've told them already. But it's also thinking about their campaign and their strategy for the year. They need to prove to everyone what are they doing, and show everyone out there in the world that they're still helping the community. And basically, we need to come up with ideas for them. And it's really getting some ideas from all of you as to what you're doing. But like I said, my main concern is with the suppliers, how those of you that are cancelling or postponing, how are they reacting? Are they waivering the fee for you, or are they expecting you to pay?
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Phaedra?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, that's the first time anybody's pronounced my name right straight away. Oh, right. Okay, sorry, I'm not on camera. My name is Phaedra. I work for the Dublin Simon community in Ireland. We're a homeless charity, and we kind of have a lot of ongoing big events, but mainly what we in the corporate partnerships team where I work with have had to cancel team building days for our corporates, which involved in our warehouse painting and decorating our services. So they've all had to be postponed for the meanwhile, and we've all just been discussing of other ways to keep the interaction going. We're currently talking to our different services, creating wish lists for our clients within our different services. Obviously, this period is one of isolation, so keeping the mind going, mental health. We've been reaching out to people for board games, art materials, TVs. But it'd be great to be able to create a virtual interactive event, and kind of going about this in a way that we've never really done before. So other homeless charities in Ireland who are bigger than us are involving themselves in kind of virtual marathons. We wouldn't have the software. I don't know, like, if there's availability in like kind of free virtual the sports software that we could get involved in that anybody knows about. So yeah, so just here to get a few more ideas in ways we can again keep everybody involved in the work that we're doing, that it's still ongoing, and that help is very much needed. Just reaching out about coronavirus in a barrage of emails is something that I think people are becoming quite immune to at the moment. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much for that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we've got Megan, we've got Jess, and we've got Sophie Griffiths, who are the last two people to speak. So it'd be great to hear from everybody. Just to remind you, there is the group chat going on, and there's a couple of good comments in there. So if it's okay, we'll take Megan, and then Jess, and then last but not least, Sophie, and then we can start to answer some questions. So over to Megan.
Okay. Hello everyone. So I work for Carers UK. So we're obviously a carers charity based here in London. We're quite similar to Sophie for the fact that we don't really do any of our own events, apart from our Northern Ireland office who host their own dragon boat race, which we've hoping to keep. It's in June. The suppliers have been really adaptable and offering us new dates, which has been great. But yeah, apart from that, we're similar to Sophie in that we have a lot of places in London Marathon, Prudential Ride London, London Landmarks, and that sort of thing. So we've got the issue at the moment that obviously no one's going to be signing up for events. I'm especially worried about Prudential Ride London, which is already, as probably a few of you know, a really difficult event to fill, and I can tell that no one's going to be interested in signing up for events at the moment. And the other thing we had is we were supposed to be starting our own virtual event in May. So we were going to be doing a 50-kilometer challenge where you do 50 kilometers, either cycling, running, walking, whichever way you wanted over the month of May. And especially for us, it was something that was going to be accessible for everyone. So whether you're a carer and can only walk a kilometer or two a day to someone who wants to run 50 kilometers a day. But we took the decision to postpone that because we just thought that people wouldn't be taking it up at the moment. And one of the other challenges we have is that sort of a lot of people who are on our social media, which is where we usually promote things, are majority carers. So for them, it's a really challenging time at the moment. Most of them are going to go into isolation for the full 3 months. They're really worried about actually being able to be financially stable. So we need to be really aware in our communications that we listen to them and don't post out about events that don't really consider them. We also need to be really careful about how we talk about fundraising at the moment. So yeah, I'm on here to see what sort of different ideas people have for virtual events. We're also really looking at finding a different way to connect our carers, so looking at like virtual coffee mornings, which might have a slight undertone of fundraising, but fundraising won't be the main focus. But yeah, thinking about sort of quiz, I've been looking at live gaming and everything like that. So any ideas would be fantastic.
Great. Okay, thank you. Right, just before we go to Jess and then Sophie, when I do have a pro account on Zoom, so in theory, at 40 minutes, it shouldn't kick us off, okay? If it does kick us off, if I give you all my email address, if you all email me, I can then re-invite you all if you'd like to continue the conversation. If not, I've just realized that there's no way I can get you all back unless I can redo the meeting, I think. So my email address, if you have a pen available there, and I will create another meeting and send it out, is ben@benmorrison.consulting. So Ben.
Put it on the chat, Ben.
Sorry?
Put it on the Zoom group chat, your email address maybe.
It may be there. It may be there. So it's ben@benmorrison.consulting, and then hopefully at 40 minutes it won't kick us out. So
is there a .uk.com or anything like that?
No,
yeah.
just ben@benmorrison.consulting, MORRISON. So that's the first challenge. Okay, because I think there's some good questions. There's definitely some knowledge in the group and some answers. So if I can go to Jess, if that's okay, Jess.
Hiya. So I work at a sightless charity in London, and we're a medium-sized charity, but we don't really do much in terms of challenge events. We mainly do the London Marathon. That's a big thing for us, and unfortunately it's been postponed. So we're kind of keen to branch out into the virtual events area, but because we're a sightless charity, we also have to consider accessibility, and a lot of things that you may usually do wouldn't work for a lot of our supporters. So we're kind of thinking about doing virtual dinner parties with verbal games and things like that. But we're kind of interested in collating a lot of different ideas about what works for everyone else and what we can adapt to make accessible for us. So I'm keen to hear what everyone else is doing.
Thank you very much for that, Jess. And last but not least, Sophie Griffiths. Oh, Sophie, you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I also work with Reese and Emma at Backup, the spinal cord injuries charity. So I'm going to be very, very quick. Some of the ideas that we're thinking about for virtual events is possibly a virtual quiz. So people like make a donation to take part. We're also noticing that a lot of people are doing live streaming at the moment. So maybe collaborating with an artist doing an Instagram live stream, and they can dedicate their gig to us. And we're also thinking that if the coronavirus continues into October, November time, we have a big fundraiser, a ball in Birmingham, and we'd like some ideas of how we could maybe, if that's going to have to be translated to a virtual environment, how we do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Great. Okay, so I think everybody has had the opportunity to speak, I believe, and lots of questions there, and I'm sure we've all got some answers. The one thing I can share is regarding physical events. in terms of where you've got people in a room sitting down together. The advice I've been given, and I've seen this and spoken to a number of hotels and people involved in gala dinners and balls and things, is, you know, we don't know what date this is going to happen. This is all going to be over, and we can get out and blink into the sunshine and start doing things. But as somebody said, wherever that is, there's going to be a lot going on, and definitely forward plan a date, pencil in a second date, pencil in even a third date, and organize your events as ghost events. So, you know, just go ahead for a physical event, and when the go ahead goes, you can then move at quick pace. In terms of, there's some really good stuff there about engaging with people and just reaching out and saying hello, which is fantastic. Also talking about the virtual events as well. I'm particularly struck by, Rosie, your scenario about the sleep out, and I wonder if we can help. Ooh, I've just made my thing big. If we can help you, so I'm going to try and if people have some good suggestions for Rosie in particular, give us a wave, and then let's see if we can start to have some. There we go. I'm going to unmute Alicia and Megan, and therefore, go on. Let's hear both of you go. Well, not at the same time. See who
You go first, Alicia.
Go on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, for the people that are lucky enough to have gardens and things, actually there's nothing to stop them from being able to do a sleep out in their garden, you know, or in their shed, or if they have I guess balcony and things is probably more common in London, things like that. That actually maybe you could kind of make an event of it, that they're kind of posting the pictures of them sleeping outside, not necessarily all together, because you could probably make a little bit more of it actually, because when you're all together and there's 100 of you and you're sleeping next to each other, you probably got the warmth and the conversation, and you're not socially isolated in the way that your beneficiaries are on a day-to-day basis. So people being alone in their garden is probably closer to people that are alone on the streets that you support in that respect. So maybe you can actually kind of turn it into a positive, and get people talking about it and posting about it, and make a hashtag so that, you know, perhaps people beyond the 100 that would normally get involved because their friends and families are also stuck at home isolated, maybe you can kind of just encourage the sleep out wherever they happen to be.
Yeah, I was just going to add on that. I think I saw something similar to this suggested. There's quite a few Facebook groups of fundraising, either on the fundraising chat or there's a COVID group as well. I was going to say, if you want to share your email address, I can try and find, because I know there was another homeless charity who are planning to do this. So it might be worth you just speaking to them to see how, if they've started doing it or what their plans are for it, because I think it's going to be a common issue for quite a few homeless charities.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I didn't know whether to unmute myself. I'll put my email address on the chat in a second. But yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking of, doing it that way with people sleeping in their gardens and things like that. I think that will work, especially if people are literally isolated to their houses. Maybe it gives them something to do. It's kind of in terms of like the technology and things like that maybe I'm a bit stuck on, in that where do people post their pictures? Should I be doing a live stream? Would Zoom work for that?
What do you usually like? Do you have sort of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and do you
we use all of that.
You could do like a lot of, I suppose, do Just Giving campaign definitely, and then people can post on their own Just Giving stories about them camping out. And then if you get people to like tag you, you can do sort of like Instagram stories are really popular at the moment. So you can be like, oh, this is Dave and his family who are doing their sleep out here. They've raised this much so far. And if you do it on one night, and then the next day you can also do like a celebration of what people have raised so far, or if there's a little kid who's doing it, some really sweet stories to follow along with it. So I think there's definitely, social media is a really good way to maximize it. Also, people are spending so much more time on social media now. they'll pay a little more attention to it. And you can always afterwards do something like, oh, if you didn't join in Sleep Out on this night, you can always do it in your own time and always fundraise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The Facebook fundraisers seem to work very well for us. I mean, obviously we have lots of followers that kind of do their birthday fundraisers and things on Facebook, but lots of people do it in memory and things like that. So of course they're spreading their story. It's not just on your feed on Facebook, but on their own. So you know, I would sort of strongly advocate for Facebook fundraising pages as well.
Okay, so I've got a question to ask people. For those of you who already organise events where people have paid to take part or made a donation towards it, are you reaching out to them to say convert your ticket into a donation? Do people want their money back? Or for people who have just had events, are people redeeming what they owe? So I'll actually, I'm just going to unmute everybody and let's see if this works. So if you want to speak, go for it, really, if there's anybody that can... No?
I don't know, this isn't quite similar. Oh, sorry, I was going to say, My Grateful, who's the cooking charity, are based in London, so refugees do cooking. Me and my mum were signed up for one of their classes, and it was like £35 each, I think. And they emailed out saying, obviously, all of our cooking classes are now cancelled, but if you've already paid for it, you can, of course, we will refund you, but it's a really challenging time to be a refugee at the moment. They sent a really, really nice email, and so you had the opportunity to email back and say, oh no, I'd rather donate the cost of my ticket. And it was just a really nice wording that I thought was a good way to do it. And I'd imagine that most people would probably donate the cost of their ticket.
With our big dinner, so obviously it's meant to take place in April, so our tables are £3,000. So we'd already got a lot of that money in or invoiced for it, and we're basically going to people because this is our biggest fundraiser, so it's got a huge impact kind of on our cash flow for the charity. We're going to people and saying, look, this is the new date, can you still make it? Are you still happy to settle the invoice now? Because obviously the event is still planned to happen later in the year. And so far everyone's kind of been happy with that, so if that's helpful to anyone.
We also as with someone else that was speaking, sort of saying, actually, we don't run many of our own events and lots of supporters. We rely on other supporters doing events. We have a major supporter who does an annual kind of ball, and it's a major event in Sunderland for the people sort of locally. And he had obviously already taken the ticket prices for that because it was supposed to be March the 20th. And he has obviously had to postpone and was really worried about what happened to people say they want their money back. And I said, well, listen, you have to give them their money back if they want the money back. But the majority of people have a connection to you, they have a connection to the charity, and they'll be happy to just, as long as you honour their ticket when the new date comes up, they'll be happy for that to happen. But the ones that don't and want their money back, you have to give them their money back so that they will rebook when it happens. And so far I think he's only had a couple of sort of businesses that sort of said, okay, we can't keep a table, and because the business is paying for it, and it might roll into it will roll into next financial year now, so that we'll have to just rebook. So we haven't had too much of in that particular event, we haven't had out of 1,000 people, I think they had about 8 that were from 2 companies that have requested their money back. But we haven't asked for them to kind of give that money up as a donation, because the event is still set to go forward, and there'll be an auction and all that sort of thing still at the time. But the problem, of course, that we're having is now we're having to change all the auction prices, because a lot of them were like trips away to Italy and stuff like that. But I wonder how people feel about, should the event be pushed later into next year, whether it would be reasonable just to say to people, would you respect the ticket price as a donation, because that's not something we've done before. It's not something we thought about doing, or our major supporter hadn't thought about doing.
So this goes into the question of the we're not having the event, but will you still give the donation towards it? So the no ball, etc. What are people's thoughts about saying we're not doing it, but please can you give what you would have given anyway? Anyone like to comment?
Well, hello,
I
hi.
think it. Go on, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello, hi. It's Nicole here. So I actually heard from one of the other charities, and it was interesting. Is it Charlene? That's UGIA,
Yeah.
up in Manchester in Scotland. I heard in London, UGIA are thinking about doing a no ball ball, carrying on with their dinner and just asking people to give without a dinner. I don't know whether this is correct, but that is what I've heard. So there are plenty of charities, I think, that will do that, and I do believe that a lot of the donors will honour their fundraising. I've come across one person so far has negatively actually said that they sponsored something, the event's not going ahead, and that they want their sponsorship money back. Now, whether this is because this person sponsors a lot within the community, maybe they're being a bit more reserved with where their monies are going. But that is what I have heard. But other than that, people are saying just keep hold of the money until we go ahead.
Okay, let's go to virtual. So we've spoken about physical events and we've spoken a little bit about virtual events. What I'm interested in is the technology. I think that we spoke, I think Rosie, you asked the question about what technology are people using. So other than posting your content on social media, what experience do people have, or what software providers, IT suppliers, do people use? Fundraising platforms, have people found that have done a good job for them in the past, or that they're thinking of using?
When we did our virtual event last year, we just did a campaign page on Virgin Money, and that was quite cost effective, so we didn't have any huge outlays with that. But the only problem with that, like, you can't link. I'd really like to link Strava and stuff to it, and like a leaderboard, just to make it more interactive. So that's why I've been looking at different platforms like Everyday Hero, but again, that's going to make the cost more because it's using a different platform that we're not already signed up to. So yeah, it's just trying to make it more interactive. And then I do know Just Giving was going to link Strava, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So if that happens soon, then Just Giving would be a really good resource for virtual challenge events.
Can I ask the question, anyone that's doing webinars or events for 100 people, I mean, are they using Zoom? What are the platforms that people are using?
I think Zoom seems to be what most people are using. Again, we're similar to you, that we want to try and do like a virtual coffee morning for our supporters, and Zoom seems to be the best option from researching so far. It also has the option, which I didn't know about, of you can do like breakout rooms, so you can have everyone in sort of a main room to listen to the talk or whatever you're doing, and then you can assign people breakout rooms to have smaller discussions, which seems a really good feature.
That's a great tip there, and using this technology. And it's amazing, you know, Zoom has gone, you know, I think I used it once before this,
Yeah.
and now the go-to on here. Okay, I'm just conscious of time, and I want to, if people, I think everybody should be able to unmute themselves. I think if people would like to ask specific questions, then please go ahead, because I think we've got some great information. I think that I want everyone to go away from the call and going, that was a well-used hour. And what's lovely is people are sharing their contact details in the, I think, in the chat. If people wishes to do that, please do so. And I want people to go away thinking, yes, that this was a good use of time. So, so Phaedra, is there anything, for example, that you'd like to ask or you want to share more?
I was just thinking about that now. I'd be quite curious to hear if anybody, like, apart from the usual social media and kind of that Facebook streaming and Instagram stories, how, there's, for example, we were having a few ideas, as everybody noticed that there's a lot of artists doing kind of sessions at home, and they're getting a lot of followers. And for example, in the Dublin Simon community, we have a small group of musicians who are our clients, who are using our services and our short stay accommodations. They formed a band, and we're thinking about putting a video up of them playing, doing a live session for everybody at home and people donating. Is there any other interactive software? Kind of even thinking, even knowing that there is interactive software that we can use, maybe there could be some inspiration of putting together an event, knowing what abilities I would be gained from certain software could like lead to more inspiration of more virtual events type of thing.
I haven't used it.
Go on.
Sorry. I was saying I haven't used it, but I have heard a few people talking about something called a house party app. And so I don't know that it's being used so much by charities or businesses and things. I think people are kind of using it to connect with the families that they can't speak to at the moment, that are all in different houses, and actually you can share a party. And I do have a friend from uni who put on sort of the first world's kind of massive big online party, and I could try and find out what it was that he used for that, because it ended up being on the BBC and everything, so it must have worked, whatever it was.
I think
so I could try and
house party's limited to about 8 people. I think that's.
Is it?
Yeah, so I've used it with small groups of friends, but for example, I have a rugby team, and obviously that's more than 8 people, so we haven't been able to use Zoom just because I think it's 8 or 9 people that you're limited to. It's a really nice thing, and I think it's worth people sharing with their supporters if they want to connect with families, because it's fun and it's got games on it and everything like that. But obviously there's a limit on numbers.
There is an app, a website called Cameo, and Cameo, which looks like, where's my camera? That it's basically you pay and you get a celebrity to do a shout out to you, right? So it can be those who are old enough, for example, Debbie Gibson of the 80s fame singer, you can book her for £125 to, so that's just Debbie Gibson's popped up on there. Athletes, musicians, reality TV people. I think it's geared towards America, but it seems quite fun if that's maybe something that might, if there might be some celebrities on your database, or even if not on your database, there's nothing wrong with things going viral. I think using celebrities who themselves are obviously trying to be as authentic as possible, and reminding people.
Where do they shout out to?
They send you a video. So I think you pay them and you say what you'd like them to say, and then they record a video on their iPhones and send it back to you. I've never used it. I think I was looking it to a birthday present once. Oh, could be quiet. But didn't use it. So that's something about celebrities. Anyone else got any ideas?
Well, it's just to say, I mean, celebrities are in the same position as all of us in terms of they're out of work. And I think it's just good to bear in mind that to make an ask is really reasonable at this stage. I mean, people are looking of A, to keep busy, and B, they're also not working and not earning. And I think that as fundraisers, we have to be quite bold and brash and just make the ask if we feel it's going to work for us. But I don't think we should shy away from anything like that at the moment.
I'm getting on to our patrons when we get off this call.
I'm thinking the same.
So we have patrons that we don't. That one of them is very, very giving and very generous on and all that sort of thing for us. But we have others that kind of used to interact with the charity a lot initially, but then became bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was less sort of interaction. Now might be the time actually to call on them.
I've made loads of calls to donors, and honestly, people are just really happy to talk. Everyone's bored and at home and worried, and you just make the call, and they're just everyone's just so far been very receptive, you know, to asking, you know, just they appreciate the call. There's just, you can't go wrong, you know, like I just don't think we can do anything wrong. If we're putting in a well-being call, then I think it just hopefully will put us all in good stead for the next chapter.
Just another question, has anyone tried live stream gaming? I think I looked on Age UK have got an emergency appeal today, and one of their Just Giving pages was a live streamer who's raised like $7.5 grand through the gaming. I know we looked at this a little bit previously, but didn't quite understand it. I think quite a few of us don't really understand gaming anyway, but it seems to have a huge fundraising potential that could be maximized right now.
In a recent IOF conference, somebody spoke from the Northeast Cats Protection, which sounds a bit of an odd thing for gaming, but her background and her interest is digital fundraising, and she was talking about things that I've never heard of, Twitch and all sorts of things. But that they have the potential for people to sign up who do gaming marathons and things, and they get money in that some way. So I guess you could try and contact, she's called Claire, I'd need to check, but Cats Protection, and if you look at the Northeast fundraisers, there is somebody there who really knows her stuff, because I've been thinking recently maybe I need to contact this person.
That'd be useful, yeah, because I'd be looking at like Twitch, and there's a few other ones that people, and also things like Twitch you can actually do not just gaming. I think you can do live quizzes and live fundraisers. So there's, I think, more potential beyond it than fundraising, but it's something that I just don't really understand. Also, their website isn't quite easy to make it understandable. So yeah, that'd be really useful actually. I'll try to have a look for her.
With regards to Twitch, I think you can have, if you can get in contact with like a prominent gamer, they have lots of people log in to watch them play, and then they will pay for that gamer to get extra like lives or extra things, and the gamer can choose to have that money go towards a specific charity. So if you look up I think he's the lead singer of Panic at the Disco, he's a really, really prominent Twitch gamer, and he literally raises tens of thousands of pounds for the LGBTQ community charities through this. So that's quite a good thing to think about maybe.
Yeah, that was an example I think she gave, but there's people, they created a cat avatar thing for this cat protection thing that then could be utilized on whoever the gamers are. I think it's quite good for the teens and stuff, and they've raised quite a substantial amount of money through it, but yeah, I haven't really looked into it.
Ben, you're muted.
Yeah.
Hello, there we go. So I'm just coughing away. I just wanted to ask Reese and Jess and Emma if they've got anything else that they want to talk about or ask, because we've done an hour, and it'd be good to bring this to a close shortly. So Reese, you don't need to. Reese, Emma, Jess, you're just conscious of giving everyone a chance to ask and to answer. Emma, anything to say?
I don't think I've got any other questions. I've just found it really helpful to hear kind of what everyone's doing. So yeah, thanks Benjamin for organising and everyone for contributing.
No, it's fine. Reese, I mean, is there anything that Reese or Sophie or Jess, looking at the names on the screens, anyone want to add anything else? Unmute Reese. I don't know if he's still there or not. Okay. Well, look, it's been. I hope you found it useful. I have recorded this, so I'm going to put it up on a YouTube channel, I think, and we'll put that there. If people wish to put their email addresses in the Zoom group chat, please do so. Obviously, GDPR. Don't ask them for donations. Or maybe who knows? Maybe GDPR. I'm just waiting for the Chancellor to get rid of GDPR, because that'd be great. That would actually great. No, not a problem. Not a problem, Reese. Thanks for the noisy room working from home. So look, great to meet you all, guys. Good luck.
Thanks.
If someone else wants to do one of these later next
maybe
week.
we can schedule another time at some point where we can just, you know, touch base, see how everyone's getting on.
Absolutely.
That'd be really good. I'd be for that.
That'll be a good one. So I'm going to stop the meeting. No, I'm not. I'm going to give you just a few seconds to, if you want to copy the text from the group chat, do so. If not, I'll stop the meeting at 2 minutes, but at 1 hour and 6 minutes. But please do feel free to stay on until I kick you all off. So thank you very much for joining, you guys.
Thanks. Thank you for organising.
Thanks, Ben.
Good luck.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Good luck. Have a nice weekend.